Thank you very much, Lauren. I want to go and bring in my first guest, Topher Morrison. He is the managing director of Key Person of Influence USA, which is a growth accelerator firm that has worked with over 1,000 companies globally to help them dominate their market share. He is featured in the award-winning documentaries The Compass and Riches, and his first book, Stop Chasing Perfection and Settle for Excellence, has been hailed as the self-help book for people who are sick of self-help books. One of the reasons I asked Topher to be on the show today is because I really feel that his message speaks to the professional who could care less about motivational magic wands and is more focused on getting tangible and proven strategies to become a key person of influence in their company, network, or industry. Topher, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Jamie. How you doing? Hey, Lauren.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, you didn't expect her in here today, did you?
No, that's great. That means if I don't know what to say, I can always just say, ask Lauren.
Exactly. That's why I'm here for you.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. She's a little nervous and everything. It was her first time on the microphone. So Topher.
She doesn't sound nervous at all. I can't even hear it in her voice.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I have great coaching from you.
There you go.
Hey, Topher, so I want to learn a little bit about yourself and the company. So tell me, how do you define somebody who is a key person of influence?
You know, it's almost one of those phrases that doesn't need to be defined because people pretty much get it. But we've tried to isolate it down to a few things. For us, a key person of influence is somebody whose names come up in conversation for all the right reasons, who can take at least 2 months a year off on vacation with their business, and their business still generates as much revenue as if they were there, if not more. And they spend the majority of their day taking phone calls versus making phone calls. So it's about inbound opportunities versus trying to create outbound opportunities.
Okay, and so your firm it's not necessarily a PR firm, it's a brand accelerator, correct?
Yeah, it's not a PR firm at all. It's a growth accelerator. So we work with small business owners that are already in growth mode, or maybe they've plateaued, but they haven't started to decline yet. And we even specialize in service-based businesses, exactly. So if anybody's listening right now and you provide an intangible product or service, boy, listen up, because I'm going to give you some great tips on how to become a better key person of influence in the industry. The theory is really simple, Jamie. It's this. In any industry, the most influential people attracts the majority of the business. I don't care what you talk about, whether it be plastic surgery or law or accounting, finance, you name it, the most influential people are driving in the biggest amount of business. So if you want more business in your business, become more influential. But don't learn how to influence. There's a real big difference. I'm not talking about sales skills or something like that. It's about harnessing the components that make you an influential leader in the community.
Yeah, and that was actually the motivation behind me starting a radio show. I've been selling real estate for 7 years, and I always noticed that there was just a certain segment of the real estate population that the realtor population, I should say, that got a lot of the business, and you've got to make yourself stand out some way. And so, part of my motivation in starting the radio show is to set myself apart from, the tens of thousands of real estate professionals that that are in the Tampa Bay region. So I mean, you definitely I definitely see what you're talking about.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that business owners can do like that, not just radio, that sets themselves apart from all of the other people that are out there. I'll give you another great example. This one, Jamie, is becoming an author. It's one thing to have people know what you do, but it's another thing to have people respect you to the degree that they would want to give you business. And one of the most efficient ways nowadays to garner that respect in business is to actually become a published author. If you look at your industry, specifically in real estate, how many realtors are there registered in the state of Florida?
A lot. A lot.
Yeah, tens of thousands. Might even be more than tens. It might be up into the 50, 60,000 mark.
Oh, easily, absolutely.
Yeah. How many of them have written a book?
Probably not too many. I think
probably less than 100.
I think a better question is how many of them actually even sold a home. I've always said it's a little bit easy to get a real estate license, and it's part of the problem in our industry is the barriers to entry are a little bit lax,
a little low.
Yeah, and but that's a segment for another show altogether. But yeah, you were talking about writing a book, and that's something that I've actually had an interest in. How did it propel your career? I see you authored a number of books.
Well, my first book that was written was before I even had this growth accelerator, and I was just a motivational speaker like all the other ones out there trying to get booked on stages. And as a speaker, I don't care how good your presentation is, you're maxing out at about $3,000 for a keynote speech. The day I became a published author, And then, of course, when it became a bestseller, that probably helped out a little bit as well. I was able to go from 3,000 per keynote to about 10,000 per keynote, and consistently get the same amount of bookings. So it more than tripled my revenue just by having that. And the funny thing is, almost the insulting thing is, my speech didn't even change.
Right.
I was still teaching the same information, but like, yeah, I said all this crap before I was an author. Why is it more valuable now?
Now, what was the process like to get your book published? Just something I'm curious myself. Was it difficult to find a publisher? Did you have to invest a lot of your own funds, or how did that process work for you?
Well, I have 3 books in now, and my first book was the most painful, the hardest one to write, and the most costly, because I really did it from a place of ego. So, yeah, I dumped in a lot of money on that book. I printed 10,000 hard copies, and they got shipped to my office, and all of a sudden I'm looking at 4 pallets on the sidewalk, and I have to manually hand carry them because I don't even have a shipping dock. So that was a pretty painful, not only financially but physically. Mm-hmm. And I think I probably still have 3,000 or 4,000 of those books in a warehouse in California. I was an idiot. Nowadays, technology has changed so much that it's quite an efficient process. The hardest part about writing the book is actually just putting your butt in the chair. Once you actually sit down to start writing it, all of the other components in terms of getting the ISBN number, designing the cover, getting it published, nowadays there's so many automated systems out there that it's really not that hard to do. You just have to find somebody who knows how to do it more efficiently than you. It's not something you want to go through on your own. It's a bit like, I could probably buy a home on my own without a realtor, but I'd much rather have somebody there guiding me through that process when I'm the one buying. It's the same kind of a thing.
Gotcha. Now tell me a little bit more about the difference between branding and becoming a key person of influence.
Well, branding is a part of becoming a key person of influence, but there's 5 things that we feel have to happen in order for somebody to be influential, and it's not necessarily all about the brand identity, if you will. But all of those things, I guess, add up to the brand identity. We're more strategic, I guess, is the way to say it. Branding is everything. That's like, that's what car you drive, where your kids go to school, how you comb your hair, what do you wear, how do you speak, whether you swear, whether you don't. All those things build up a brand. It's literally everything. For becoming a key person of influence, we think there's 5 specific things. First and foremost, you have to have a perfect pitch. Every person of influence is known for what they're known for. Whether it be Richard Branson, be the rebel billionaire, or Gandhi saying, be the change, or JFK saying, I have a dream. Every person of influence is known for what they're known for. They have one thing that they stand for, and they're not afraid to have people be alienated from that. The most powerful and influential people don't try to please everyone, and that's what really makes up a good pitch. The second thing is you have to have a lot of credibility, and that's where we get into publishing. So we try to make all of our clients become published authors. Mm-hmm. The third component is you have to scale your business in a way where you do not have to be in it from the day-to-day grind. And for us, for service-based people, that's real simple. We say that if you say the same thing more than 5 times a week, you probably need to get that on video.
Right.
Get it into an audio, get it into an ebook, get it into a brochure, get it somewhere where you don't have to be present to deliver that material every single time. And then that's going to freeze up massive amounts of time with anybody in the service-based business. And then that frees them up to go on to step 4, which is to have a lot of fun, like getting on a radio program with you,
right.
And exposing your media. And that's really, it's about raising your profile in the media, raising it in the community, and which is something that the team at Elevate does such a good job, man. Those guys are brilliant at helping you to increase your level of influence inside the community or your awareness to where people see you all over the place. And then the third one is to raise your profile online. And then the fifth and the final component out of all 5 of those is to develop and create powerful partnerships with key individuals outside of your sphere of influence to bring more business inside your sphere of influence.
Yeah, a lot of great information there. Now, a lot of my listeners might not necessarily be the owner of a company. Which of the steps, if any, would apply to an employee or an independent contractor who doesn't have, say, a vested interest in becoming a person of influence, for their boss or their contractor's business?
Well, the misnomer there is that people actually become influential. We already are influential. It's just about how far you want to expand that. Now, if I were talking to an employee, first thing I would ask them is to say, how much of an influence do you want to have in the business? Because these 5 things will work to the exact same degree in business as they was for an entrepreneur. It's just that it requires them to think differently. Jamie, it's a different world nowadays. I don't know exactly how old you are, but I think we're relatively in the same ballpark. And then when I was younger, like in my 20s, having a job, there was loyalty from the employer to the employee, and that's just not the way it is. There's no more loyalty between employers or employees, and it's the most influential people that are the most vital. I think too many times employees try to make themselves functional, and they should be focusing on how to make themselves vital. So I tell employees all the time, I'd say, listen, if you wrote a book about why your company is amazing and how you can be the best sales rep or the best administrative assistant, how much more vital would you be to that company if you actually had a book that you could give out to all of the employees? That's something most employees would never think about, right?
Yeah, and it sets you.
It's not a book.
Yeah, and it sets you apart from your coworkers and everything, and that's exactly what you got to do. You got to find a way to set yourself apart from everybody else that you're competing with, whether it's in a job or as an independent contractor. So that's a great point I think you raised.
So it's just about how much of an influence do you want to have inside the business, and the more influence you have in any business, the more vital you're going to become, hence the more job stability you'll have. So I think it works great as well. It's not what we do in our business, but the principles could apply. You just have to be a little bit out of the box thinker.
Well, a lot of great information. I'm up against a break here in just a moment here, but Topher, real quick, give the audience a little bit more information about yourself and how they can get in touch with you off the air.
Well, they can just go to keypersonofinfluence.com. Pretty easy.
Pretty easy.
Keypersonofinfluence.com, yep.
And hey, real quick, so tell me, how long does it take to become a key person of influence in your experience?
Yeah, once you're already influential, the question is how far do you want it to expand? So we operate on the principle that people don't become people of influence. They already are, and they just simply expand that out. But what you're looking for there in terms of a strategic plan, those 5 steps, takes between 9 to 18 months.
9 to 18 months. Well, Topher, I greatly enjoyed having you on my show, and I think you actually inspired me to kind of get out and write that book that I've been saying I'm going to do for a while. So I appreciate the additional influence there that you put on me today.
You bet, brother. Hey, thanks for having me on, and give Lauren a big hug for me.
All right, will do. Topher, have a great week, man.
Take care.
If you're just tuning in, you've been listening to the Jamie Meloni Real Estate Show here on 1250 Wins, WHNZ. Coming back from the break, we're going to be talking with Chris Vasquez with ProClean, so stay tuned.